I've seen a lot of people underrate ReZero's world building, and within it, its power system is not talked about too much. And I can kinda see why ReZero's power system is downplayed. It's due to the fact that how the powers work isn't explained in extreme detail. You kinda have to just learn it as the story moves forward. And ReZero's power system is a lot more extensive than it seems. There's so far 6 major abilities in ReZero, so I'm gonna go over every ability in ReZero and how they function. Starting off with magic. Magic is used by altering mana in order to manipulate natural phenomena, which is done by an organ in the body called mana gates, or just gates. There are 6 elements in ReZero, consisting of fire, water, earth, wind, yin, and yang. Fire magic allows one to control temperature, creating effects like fire and also ice. Also for the record, Emilia and Puck both use fire magic. Water magic controls life energy and water, which allows for things like healing or creating water. Earth magic allows one to manipulate the earth, and it can actually do some crazy stuff. Wind magic allows one to interfere with the atmosphere. Yin magic is centered around debuffs, but also branches into some crazy things like space and time manipulation. Yang magic is the opposite of yin, and it's centered around buffs and enhancements, but also things like light manipulation. Yin and yang are considered rare elements for one to have an affinity with, and on top of that, they have a conflicting relationship, where if a person progresses in yin magic, yang will be affected, and vice versa. Magic in ReZero is quite freeform, but also has hard set rules. Each person has an affinity to a specific element which is set from birth. Some people have affinities to multiple elements, but that's rare. You can use any element despite your affinity, and I've not seen or read any explicit drawback for doing so. But what I was able to come up with is your affinity gives you a leverage in reaching your magic potential. Like for example, despite Subaru having no talent for magic whatsoever, he was able to cast Shamak on his very first attempt. I don't think the case would be similar if he tried with another element. That, or using an element you have a low affinity with, consumes a lot more mana. This isn't confirmed and just my thoughts. For someone to cast a spell, they need to have a mental image of the effects and the construction of the technique. If they can't do this, then they can't cast a spell. So imagination plays a huge role in casting spells. Spells also have power levels and can be scaled by adding certain prefixes to your incantations. These prefixes increase the potency of a spell. There's the base spell like Gua or Shamak, then it goes El, Ul, and Au respectively. While magic is studied in ReZero, or rather Lugunica, it's improving at quite a slow pace, due to a lot of knowledge being lost to time. So it creates a disparity between magic users. So people like Roswell or Beatrice are so far ahead of the curve, simply due to vast knowledge. Some magic users can cast spells without incantations, but there's no explicit advantage in doing so. But then, some magic users can cast full spells, basically disguising an Al Shamak as a normal Shamak, and vice versa. And now, for the most difficult magic technique to perform in ReZero, multiple fold magic. This is the process of combining multiple elements to create an effect. And the reason why it's so difficult is the high mana consumption and how mentally taxing it is. Casting a multiple fold spell is akin to using multiple brains for each element in the spell. For example, a spell producing steam will need you to combine fire and water magic, and spells like flight need 3 elements, and lightning needs 4 elements, which is why literally nobody performs multiple fold spells. So yeah, that's basically all you need to know about magic in ReZero. Honestly, this could have been its own video, cause there's so many details I would have liked to go into, but we have many more things to cover, so I have to move on. Hopefully I said all the important stuff and didn't miss anything. The second ability we have is Spirit Arts. Now, Spirit Arts is basically magic on steroids, but it requires a contract with a spirit, or just borrowing a spirit's power. So unlike magic where one uses the mana stored in their gate to cast spells, Spirit Arts is different in the sense that the spirit absorbs mana from the atmosphere, which the Spirit Arts user then gets access to. And before you ask, Subaru and Beatrice are different, being that Beatrice cannot absorb mana from the atmosphere, and due to her and Subaru's contract, she can only rely on him to supply her mana through physical contact, although she can use other things like magic crystals to cast spells. Subaru, on the other hand, can't form a contract with another spirit, even temporarily, and due to his broken gate, can't cast spells without being in contact with Beatrice, as he uses her gate to cast spells. When casting spells through Spirit Arts, the spirit does the heavy lifting, and it just requires the user to cast the spell. We see Julius casting these crazy spells, and remember what I said about multiple fold spells being similar to having multiple brains. Julius in his entire life will not be able to cast these crazy spells without his quasi-spirits. But yeah, my point is, spirits do most of the work in spellcasting, like how Subaru was able to use Goa despite never learning it, or that even being his element. Spirits have evolution stages. They start as lesser spirits, which are just basically balls of mana and communicate their feelings through mana. Then quasi, which also just transmit emotions, but they have a sense of self while also gaining an element and being stronger than a lesser spirit. Then they become a normal spirit. These are fully matured elemental, can communicate, and can guess the emotions and surface thoughts of humans. And the final stage, Great Spirit. These are the most powerful spirits. They manifest a physical form, and they can basically do everything I mentioned before, while being capable of causing disasters. That's mostly it for spirit arts. Next up is Divine Protections. These are very rare, random, unique abilities that one is either born with or inherits. Divine protections are granted by Odlagna, which is described as the soul of the world. So no, Odlagna is not a sentient being, and is more like the world's consciousness, essentially the world itself. Although personally, I don't think there's such a thing as a useless divine protection, but for those who get a divine protection, it is said that the chances are 1 out of 100 to get a useless or weak divine protection, 1 out of 1,000 to get a somewhat useful one, 1 out of 10,000 to get a rare one, 1 out of 100,000 to get a useful one, to get a very useful one, and 1 out of 1,000,000 to get a very rare and unique divine protection. It is incredibly rare for someone to possess more than 1 divine protection, with the chances of being born with 2 divine protections being 1 in 10 million. Although multiple divine protections can be gotten through other ways, like being born with one and inheriting another. Examples are Reinhardt and Theresia. Sometimes a divine protection can cover entire races and different species. Like every land dragon has the divine protection of wind evasion, making them completely unaffected by wind and wind resistance. And there's also some divine protections that can only exist for one person at a time. It is stated that divine protections were created in hopes of countering authorities. But there's something I noticed about divine protections. Unlike authorities, divine protections tend to wear the user out after constant use, as we've seen with Auto, but I believe how it affects the user differs from person to person and the type of divine protection they have. Next up is authorities. These are the most rare and powerful abilities one can have in ReZero. They are usually described as illegal or cheat abilities that don't obey the laws of the world. They are capable of literally messing with the world's functions. Authorities are obtained by something called a witch factor. A witch factor requires one to be compatible with it for it to work. Now, what determines compatibility isn't really clear to me. What I think is that its compatibility has to be in line with one's nature, or rather one's strongest driving force. Like for instance, I have too strong a desire to become the strongest warrior in existence, and I won't hesitate to cut down anything and anyone that stands in my way. I'm probably going to be compatible with the Wrath Witch factor, and because authorities manifest into what the user desires, my authority of Wrath can manifest as a sword able to cut anything and everything, or just something in line with that desire. You can't really choose how an authority will manifest. It might be some kind of ability, it might be an object, it can probably be almost anything, but it will most definitely be in line with your desire. Authorities are simply a means to an end. Witch factors serve as kind of like doors to an authority. So multiple people can have authorities from a single witch factor, which explains why there's multiple Sin Archbishops of Gluttony. Although that's all we know. We know why multiple people can have authorities, but it doesn't fully explain how it's happening, just the why. While authorities themselves mostly don't have limitations or weaknesses, the mechanics of the authority itself can be exploited. So yeah, that's mainly how authorities work in ReZero. Next up is Cursed Arts. Now, currently where we are in the anime, we haven't gotten to where Cursed Arts are going to be used often, so I'm not going to go into some of the crazy abilities I've seen. But basically, Cursed Arts are abilities that target one's odd, but unlike magic, Cursed Arts have less rules surrounding what one is capable of, which leads to some very weird abilities. The closest thing I can liken Cursed Arts to is Binding Vows from Jujutsu Kaisen, but a lot more wild in direct comparison. I'll try to simplify the process of Cursed Arts. So there's 3 stages in Cursed Arts, which is Cause, Condition, and Effect. Cause is the inflicting phase, and most curses are inflicted by physical contact. Then Condition, and this is where things get a little fucky. Because at the entry level, when someone places a curse on another person, you tell them the conditions, kinda like a contract or agreement, but it's not actually required. Someone can be going about their day not knowing they've been cursed and just proceed to fucking die in their bed. And the final stage, which is Effect, and this is the end result of a curse, after the condition to activate it has been fulfilled. And it can honestly be anything, but most times it's death, or something that leads to death. The most clear example of a curse we've seen in ReZero is in Arc 2, against the Wogarm. A curse can be broken by skilled people before it's activated. That, or you can kill the curse user before the conditions to activate the curse is met, and after a curse is activated, it most likely cannot be broken. Some very skilled curse arts users even curse entire generations. Yeah man, curses are weird if I'm being honest. And the last one, Dream Arts. Now, Dream Arts is classified as an application of magic, but I think it's way too unique, and like Curse Arts, has absolutely no real relation to magic in terms of mechanics, so it gets its own category. This one I can kinda understand how it works. It's a bit confusing, but I'll try to explain it in the best way I can. Dream Arts work by projecting someone's odd into a separate reality. For it to work, the target has to be unconscious, and while active, you can manipulate the target to do stuff, implant thoughts, basically just cause mental damage. I also think one can be killed in the other reality, essentially killing you in the actual world, since they are basically killing your odd. The only confirmed application of Dream Arts in the anime is Echidna's Castle of Dreams, but there's a way stronger Dream Arts user. Well, technically two. They were able to use Dream Arts on an entire town. I also think there's other instances of Dream Arts like Subaru's Shadow Garden. There's other ones I can't get into because of spoilers. Honestly, take this my entire Dream Arts explanation with like 95% certainty, because this is just how I think it works. So that's basically ReZero's entire power system at its simplest. There was one I didn't talk about, but it's weird, so it'll get its own video. I mean, any one of these abilities could have been their own video, but I just had to speedrun a little bit. I might make a video of one of these categories in the future. Also, there's something I want to address. It's not really related to this video, but ReZero fans, you all need to chill with the spoilers. I've been seeing a lot of ReZero fans just straight up spoiling this series for a lot of people. I mean, it's gotten so bad now. Don't spoil anything in my comment section. If you want to drop a spoiler, put a spoiler warning. But that's all I have to say. If you are able to understand ReZero's power system a little better from this video, do like and subscribe. And yeah, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop a comment, and have a wonderful day.